So we can just close our eyes and we can just, except for Daryl who's driving, and we can uh, just meditate a little bit together. Breathing in and out, and just observing the breath. Observe the breath as it goes in, holding it, and then as it goes out. And observe the effect it has on the body and the mind. As we find the mind and body and heart rate becoming calmer, you can just think how nice it would be for this to be our default state. Feels good to breathe in the oxygen and breathe out all the different worries that we have through the week, all the different uncertainties, insecurities, job, money, relationships, all these things, because ultimately they're not our true nature. As yoga says, Tadasrupe avasthanam, O great one, reside in thy own nature. Keep breathing. As you notice yourself becoming calmer, can you compare this state to the state we just had when we first sat down? Can we compare it to that state of anxiety? Again, try to make this state of calmness. This is our real nature. Now let's go for a gratitude practice. If possible, I would suggest those who are sitting at home, if you're not wearing any shoes, any socks, that's better. Feel the toes pressed against the earth. Press it. Keep breathing. Does everyone feel the ball of their foot against the earth, pressing? And now we offer gratitude. Gratitude to our toes, our feet, for giving us the ability to walk. If there's pain in these areas, we know it will be difficult to walk. So it's something that we should not take for granted. We should be very grateful that they're serving us so selflessly. Let's keep moving up now to our ankles, our calves, uh, our shin bones, knee. Focus on it, and we pay our gratitude. Again, we keep going up to our kneecaps, our thighs, hamstrings, glute. Put your mind there. And pay gratitude. Now we keep going up to our stomach, our chest, heart, always beating, without which we would not be able to live. Our lungs, without which we will not be able to breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Our hands, press your fingertips against each other. Feel that. Same thing, our wrist, our arms, biceps. Go to the shoulders, the traps. Pay gratitude by awareness. Neck, the mouth, tongue, nose, eyes. These are actually not us. They're separate from us. We're that seer that activates these different sense organs. For this reason, we pay gratitude to them for allowing us to interact with the world. Otherwise, think of a life without the eyes, without sight, without the nose, without smell, without the tongue, taste. Finally, let's go to the face. After the face, go to the brain, the mind. Sometimes our mind causes us to become restless, and yet sometimes it can be our best friend. So we pay gratitude to the mind and our humble salutations that you always keep our viveka alive, our sense of discrimination between right and wrong, what can be changed, what can be not changed, and most importantly, giving us the wherewithal and the reminder to go inside. And finally, we pay our gratitude to all our different teachers, beginning with our mother, father, no matter how they are. Even if you don't have such a good relationship with your mother or father, it doesn't matter. It's the principle, that which gives birth, that which supports, that which takes care. In the Upanishads, we say Matri Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So that means Matri Devo Bhava, let your mother be your God. Pitri Devo Bhava, let your father be your God. Acharya Devo Bhava, let your teacher be your God. Now, some of us might have wonderful relations, others may not. So it's always that principle from which the mother, father, that's the divine mother, that's the universal mother, which is to us Sri Sharada Devi, Holy Mother, Mother Kali. So that's the impersonal principle between all the mothers, fathers, and all creation of the world. And finally, we pray that let the all beings be happy, let all beings be peaceful, let all beings be healthy, let none be subject to misery, let none be subject to ill health, and let none be subject to sadness. And finally, let's take that vow again. Let's all take a vow here on the commitment to try it again to be with our breath whenever possible, to remind ourselves that this state that we're presently feeling, this is our own, and we can bring it up at any time. We just have to focus on the breath. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat. Now let's just slowly open our eyes. Slowly open it. But try to keep that state as well. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagat Gurum Padapadme Tvayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharine Sthapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. No, that's the thing. The Yoga Sutras, all these things are just for that. The beginning, the first thing is to make friends, to try to make friends with our mind, our breath, and bring it to uh, just awareness, nothing else. If we can bring it to some level of awareness, that's the most important thing. So, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Those who are showing yourselves. So, I'd it's nice. I hope sometimes we would do a daily check-in afterwards. How's everybody? Is everybody keeping okay? It's you know, life is a struggle. So just getting up in the morning and facing everything, I think and today I was telling one of my friends, she's a householder and she's has a job, she has a family, she's having to go through so much. And it's just amazing, all of you, what you have to do, all the things you have to face. So I think we have to sometimes, and in spite of that, we're still attending these classes. So on the one side, this is the grace of God. And on the other side, we have to also be grateful to ourselves. We appreciate that, you know, um, what do you say? Sri Ramakrishna used to always say, you first have to have a one, and then you can, on top of that, you can add zeros. So what we've talked about, the cognitive negative bias, all of us, no matter how we act outside, it's easier to look at our own faults. So that's why it's always good to also acknowledge the good strength, the positive things that we're trying to do in life, you know, especially just please trying to make the effort. So with that said, today I'm going to open the Yoga Sutras. Oh, can someone please allow me to do screen sharing? It says the host disabled participant screen sharing. Who has that? Should I call it? Maybe let me call Jyoti then, and she could enable that, I think.
Maybe Daryl might know.
Well, Daryl's driving right now, so
Oh, he's driving?
yeah, let me just ask Jyoti real quickly. Yeah, how did someone should disable the screen sharing so I could do screen sharing? That's the thing, because yeah, okay. Okay, she's not picking up. So anyways, that's too bad. Okay. So what we'll do instead then is uh I'll try to I'll do the yeah, because I have the transliteration in front of me, so I want to also be able to
1 second, I'm trying to do, I'm able to log in and let me,
okay.
meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Join.
Oh, host can only Rajiv said host can only do it, it seems.
Yeah,
Let
I'm
me
trying to be a host here,
okay.
logging from a different account.
Okay. Yeah, she should. Yeah, she should. Anyways. Okay. In the meantime, because I then I can show you guys all the text. That's why I wanted to be able to screen share. But in the meantime, yeah, Jyoti, can you please? Oh, she's not there. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm just going to read then, and some of you who have the text, because I really like for everyone. One of my goals is that we memorize these things together, the Yoga Sutras. So I'm going to say the sutra starting from 1.1, and then I want everyone to repeat it. We'll do those together. The first ones we'll do together. I'll repeat it once, then you repeat it after me. Atha yoga anushasanam.
अथ योगा अनुशासनम्
Next one. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha.
योगः चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः
Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam.
तदा
तदा दृष्टो स्वरूपे अवस्थानम्
Vritti sarupyam itaratra.
सारूप्यम् स्वरूप
Vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishtaha.
वृत्तयः पञ्चस्य किलाष्ट
No, it's klishta aklishta. Klishta aklishta.
क्लिष्ट अक्लिष्ट
अक्लिष्टाय
Let me do it. Vrittaya panchataya klishta
पञ्चस्य
aklishtaha.
क्लिष्ट अक्लिष्टाः.
Yeah, klishta and aklishtaha. Yes.
Swamiji, can you repeat it? I didn't get number 5.
Vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishtaha.
वृत्तय पञ्चतय क्लिष्टा क्लिष्टाय
And actually, one thing is, I broke it down, but normally there's sandhi between klishta and aklishta. So it's actually vrittaya, panchataya, klishta, klishtaha. So that klishta is long. You understand? Because of sandhi, you have the a, and then a. You join them together, and then you can klishta, aklishtaha.
Okay.
क्लिष्ट अक्लिष्टाः.
तया पञ्चतया क्लिष्टा क्लिष्टाः
Yes.
अक्लिष्टाः.
Okay, so is the screen sharing, was anyone able to figure out the screen sharing? Okay, still working on that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. So let me just go, if someone could just leave Jyoti a message, that would be also great. And I'll start now. And so what I want to do then, let me just open up the, what we're gonna do then, I'm gonna read Swami Vivekananda. Now, I just want to repeat this again. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Can anyone say in the class, what did that mean? What did we say? Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Itaratra means, as Swamiji said, at other times. Vritti sarupyam. Sarupyam means identified. With what? With the vritti. So the commentary Swami Vivekananda says, for instance, someone blames me. This produces a modification, vritti, in my mind, and I identify myself with it, and the result is misery. Okay. If we think about it, I think the cause of a lot of our misery is actually because of this, that someone says something to us or some situation happens, and sometimes we can really lose our balance. How many of us have felt that sometimes? Sorry, that was a phone call. How many of us have felt that sometimes? So at that time, things become kind of heavy. Our breathing becomes very shallow. And sometimes the whole night, something happens. Especially this happens if something happens at night, someone gives us some news that we're unexpected about. It's like a cycle effect. We take the call, that whole night we don't get any sleep. The next day we're tired. And the next day also we're kind of like in a fog. And so this identification, does everyone understand? Yeah, go ahead, Shailesh.
Swamiji, can you try now sharing the screen?
Okay.
I've turned it on.
Okay. Oh, very good. Very good. So let me go to mine. Okay. Okay, great. So can everyone see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes, Swamiji.
So this is Swamiji said, at other times other than that of concentration, the seer is identified with the modifications. So this modifications, sometimes we think it's just like a thought wave. It's not just like a wave. So it's a whole pattern. It has its like own, it's a impulse. It's multiple impulses. It's deep rooted, spanning many lifetimes. And so what I was bringing that up is how sometimes what we have to try, we talked about this, sometimes something happens and it throws us off. And suddenly we're not able to sleep at night. We keep thinking about, it's usually something that deals with some lingering uncertainty. Is that clear?
Mhm.
We
Yes.
did not plan it, but then suddenly it's sprung upon us and we're having kind of difficulty extricating ourselves from that. So the problem with that is, with this identification, what did Swami Vivekananda say? That there's two powers of the mind as yogis that we must cultivate. The first power of the mind is the power of attachment. Now, that attachment is not unconscious, it's a conscious power of attachment. Therefore, we're talking about the Yoga Sutras, we're talking about the idea of meditation, right? To cultivate that power of attachment. And that is what you call in this Vedanta anurag, that attachment towards especially God. Anurag, attachment towards God. The other is this virag. What does virag mean? If rag means, what was that?
Separation.
Separation, yes. And detachment. So the power to attach and also the power to detach. So Swamiji says that this is how we get played in this world. We think we're so clever and we want to love, we want to experience, we want to enjoy life. And yet at the same time, what we find? We find that we're caught. We're caught and we can't get out. So then the question becomes how, so we have to cultivate this. And this is where we have to, this takes repeated practice, repeated failure again and again. And we have to use different methodologies. Sometimes we, it just happened to me today. I was on the elliptical machine and so there was some uncertainty. I remembered, they say that one of our spiritual practices can be the practice of the presence of God. Now, remember, how many of you know about Bhishma in the Mahabharata? Remember the relationship he had with Mother Ganga? Violet, do you know Bhishma? Okay, he's a character in the Mahabharata. He was have you know about Bhishma? Okay, good. So anyways, when he made those vratas, those decisions to make a lifelong vow of celibacy so that his father could remarry. When he made all these different vows, he did not consult Mother Ganga. Mother Ganga is his mother, and that's who he always takes refuge in. So you know what happened? After that, he faced so much difficulty, so much suffering. Then once he was almost reaching a state, he used to go to Mother Ganga every day and complain to her about his problems. Finally, she said, Shala, you rascal, you took these vows without consulting me. So why are you coming to me now? So the main lesson from that, we also have to bring some higher power or some objectification into the picture, especially when life seems to be like this vritti sarupyam itaratra, especially when things start to invade upon us. They start to make it seem, what do you say? It's like we feel cloistered at that time. We feel like a straitjacket is slowly, like a python slowly embracing us and slowly tightening its grip upon us. So there is a way out. The way is through different methodologies. One methodology is through our breath, the breathing we did. Another methodology is also our relationship with our Ishta Devata, whoever that may be. Consulting, bringing them into the picture rather than always taking actions. Same thing, this Vedanta, this what we do in yoga, that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. These thoughts are separate from me. That's another way. And final way is the way of karma yoga, trying to do selfless service to others. So these 4 different yogas, they can also become our friends when we're too identified with our own situation. That situation is nothing but the vritti. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now let's go back and okay, I guess it's not share. Let's go back to share screen. And okay, let's go back here. Your screen is paused. Oh, stop share. Why is share screening paused? Oh, okay, one moment. Let me stop the share screening and let me start again now. Okay, good. Now let's go to 1.5. This says, and I'll first go to Chris Chappell so we can, for those of you that can't read the Devanagari, Vrittaya Panchataya Klishta Aklishtaha. So he says the fluctuations are 5-fold, afflicted or non-afflicted. Let's go to Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji says there are 5 classes of modifications, some painful and others not painful. So again, what we're talking about here, these klishta comes from the Sanskrit root klesha, and klesha means pain bodies. Aklishta means not pain bodies, not painful, which actually means spiritual tendencies. Those tendencies which take us towards knowledge, devotion, meditation, God. Those are the not painful. Everything else, even if it's ice cream, it seems like it could be not painful. It should be happiness, but no, because what we're going to read afterwards, this sukha and this dukkha, this pleasure and this suffering, both equally create the reaction of enjoyment or the reaction of suffering. That causes more suffering. Why? Because that causes attachment towards this material world. So our goal is, when we say aklishta vrittis, that means what? What does it mean? Spiritual samskaras. Now, I want to go to Edward Bryant right here for a second. So this will give us a little bit of an overview. So can everybody read the screen? I'll read it out loud. Hello?
We are able to read it.
Okay, Patanjali, why don't then Lakshmi ji, why don't you read this? Why don't you read this first part right here? This just a few
Patanjali?
3 lines, yeah.
Patanjali defined yoga in 1.2 as Chitta Vritti Nirodha, and now dedicates Sutras 1.5 to 12 to discussing the vrittis, and 1.13 to 16 to discussing Nirodha.
Let's stop right there. So these next 7 sutras that we're going to discuss are the different types of vrittis. And after that, he's going to discuss Nirodha. So, but we're just concerned about this 1.5 to 1.12. Okay, go on to the next line.
Okay, we here get a sense of the systematic nature of the sutra traditions, in contrast to the more spontaneous but unsystematic nature of the earlier Upanishadic corpus from which a number of knowledge systems stemmed.
Yeah, yes. So the main thing he's talking about here, if any of you have studied any of the Upanishads, it seems sometimes that there's no pattern, there's no structures. It seems almost like the rishis are having some experience and it's like someone speaking and somebody else is just jotting it down. So it doesn't seem sometimes like there's any order of it. But here is saying, no, there's a definite systematic pattern. So 1.5 to 1.212, we're going to discuss these different vrittis, okay? And let's see, let's have someone else read. Violet, can you read this next one right here?
As has been noted, vritti is used frequently throughout the Yoga Sutras, essentially to refer to any sensual impression, thought, idea, cognition, psychic activity, or mental state whatsoever.
So is this clear? And so this is the thing. Sometimes we think vritti, we just think a thought, right? We just think, okay, a thought came to a mind. But it's not. It's just not a single thought. So it says sensual impression, thought, idea, cognition, psychic activity, mental state whatsoever. So these are the different, and these vrittis are actually things that are coming from the past and they're arising again in our mind. Or
Sorry, I have a question about the cognition.
Yeah, sure.
Cognition, in my opinion, cognition, I'm thinking about as awareness, as we are gaining that, like recognizing something. How is that a vritti?
Right, cognition. So we're recognizing something. So so vritti is not only just a thought, it's also the what do you call the activity, the mental activity of engaging. That process of engaging, that's also a vritti as well.
Good or bad?
Good or bad doesn't matter, but that's also a vritti as well. The process of perceiving, the process of identifying, the process of cognizing. That's also, all these things are vrittis actually. We sometimes think when we see vritti, a thought, we think of it as something inert. But no, in our life, it's something very, it makes life dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only the thought, it's the tendencies. Vrittis also includes, which is what actually samskaras, the word samskara means tendencies.
But Swami, it says any mental activity.
Yeah.
That means you are, in other words, it has to be a thoughtless mind, no thinking, nothing. Is that what it is? It's like concentrating on one thing is also a mental activity.
Yeah, you concentrate on one. Yes, concentrate. So, concentrate on one thing is yes, that's true. But even then, we're using the vritti of meditation. See, that's also a past memory that we're bringing into the present. So even the idea of concentration, that's also a past samskara, right? We've done something like that in the past, so now we're engaging in that.
But is
So,
that good or bad? That's what I'm trying to figure
well,
out.
there's both good and bad, right? So that's a good, very good question. So that's klishta means good, bad because it means some type of harmful pain body, damaging afflictions. And aklishta means our spiritual vrittis.
Okay. Okay.
So klishta could also be an attachment to your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Not love, but love something different, but attachment to your grandchildren, attachment, these worrying about your grandchildren. Oh my God, what's going to happen? This world is blowing up. Oh no, and so so these are all part of that. And so our goal is actually ultimately to go beyond the good and the bad. Sometimes people with near-death experiences, as I think Chetan sometimes talk to us about, there's like a freedom from the idea of thought, a freedom from the idea of body, mind, thought itself. At that time, we sometimes think that we don't realize how heavy these things are in our lives. And I think Swami Vivekananda in a poem I think his Sannyasin Bod, Om Tat Sat Om, I think he says, heavy he or she who wears the form, for they also have to bear the chain. The chain is this body, mind, ego complex, how heavy it is. You see, when we did a little breathing, we got a little separation. See we all felt a little bit more lightness at that time. That's where we're not aware of the heaviness until we do the breathing or unless we sit for meditation. We're not aware of the restlessness of our mind until we sit for meditation and we see, my God, what the heck's going on in there? Sometimes it's like too much. Okay, let me do something else. But that's our own mind screaming at us. It's like a small child. Some of you have grandchildren or children. You talk about like or pets or animals. And what happens if like you leave it alone by itself the whole day and not taking care of it? How restless it can become. So same thing, our thoughts are like that. Let's go back down here. Okay, who else has not read yet? Okay, Shailesh, why don't you, I wish I had a screen I can see who's there. Can everyone just take turns? Is there like a certain order? Or Shailesh, why don't you read this one right
Yeah,
here?
I can read.
Yeah.
Okay,
Since the mind is never, yeah, go ahead.
Since the mind is never static, but always active and changing, vritti are constantly being produced and thus constantly absorb the consciousness of Purusha away from its own pure nature, channeling it out into the realm of subtle or gross prakriti.
Okay. Who can
Vijnan
Yeah, let's just stop right there. Okay. Who has not spoken yet? Someone new speak that has not. I got to see the whole screen, I guess. I can't see the full gallery. That's the problem with the screen share on.
Swamiji, if you scroll down, there is like that little arrow. I think you will be able to.
Okay, yeah, I got it now. Okay, okay, Eves, are you able to speak from there? I don't. Are you okay? Can you also can you say something? What we just read? Maybe Eves says, "Hi, Eves. Oh, nice to see you."
Nice to see you too. I'm jumping in a little late, but
Okay, that's okay. So we just read this. Silas, why don't you read that line again?
Yeah. Since the mind is never static, but always active and changing, vrittis are constantly being produced and thus constantly absorb the consciousness of Purusha away from its own pure nature, channeling it out into the realm of subtle or gross prakriti.
Okay, Eves, do you have any, do you understand, if not, I'll further explain it, but what do you think? Is there anything you want to say on that? Otherwise, I'll further explain it, but I'm interested in what strikes you about that.
You can further explain it because I'm still catching up here.
Oh,
So
sure. Okay. So what this is saying is that when we, like Holy Mother used to say, you can't think of both God and the world at the same time. So same thing, Yoga Sutras is saying this, vritti sarupyam itaratra. So the 1.3 was tada drashtuhu surupe avasthanam. Other yogi is established in his or her own self, in the Purusha, in the Atman. Or the other alternative, vritti sarupyam itarata, or we are fully identified with our thought patterns. So since the mind is never static but always active and changing, vrittis are constantly being produced, and we're constantly identifying with our mind every single moment. So wherever that leads us, we can jump from China to South Africa, this, or we can jump from anger to happiness to again anger or the sadness. So vrittis are constantly being produced and thus constantly absorb the consciousness of Purusha away from us. Otherwise, that same mind could be focused on God. But it's this mind, it's this monkey mind that takes us in so many different scattered ways that prevents us from going towards our pure nature. And it then channeling it out into the realm of subtle or gross. Prakriti means the earth, this material nature. So what it's saying is that we're always that restlessness of the mind, that tendency of the mind to always cling itself to this material world, whether it's something outside, someone outside, some activity, even our own thoughts, our own ego, that takes us away from, what does it take us away from? Anybody, what does it take us away from?
From our, from our real nature.
Yes, from our real nature, So our goal is to slowly in our meditation, as well as in our day-to-day life, even in our work, to slowly start to more and more become a little more conscious about our own thoughts, our breathing, our thoughts, becoming just more aware, practicing more awareness towards our own thoughts, feelings, emotions in the present moment. Not to identify them, but just to be aware that that's not me. That's something that's being played before the screen of the mind, but I'm something separate from that. Okay. Let's see then. Does anyone have any question on that, or anyone they want to say?
I have a comment.
Yeah, please.
So we were talking about cognition,
Right.
being part of creating vrittis.
Yes.
And then, so in this exercise where we are constantly looking at our like when we are meditating, like our thoughts and patterns and all of that, if we are being aware of it, we are creating vrittis as well. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like,
Sure.
whether it is the only way we don't create vrittis is being a witness,
Yes.
not being part of it. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Swamiji, if,
Yeah.
if
Yes,
the
Raju.
mind,
Yeah.
if the mind is completely without breaths, does it result in like joy, or what exactly is that state? Or is it like silence?
I can't hear you very well, Raju. Your voice is a little bit muffled. Can you say that again, please?
Can you hear me now?
No, much better. Yes.
So my question is like, if the mind is completely without any vrittis, like no vrittis at all, then
Yes.
is that experience an experience of joy, or like complete absence of anything at all?
So yeah, that say that if the mind's without any vrittis at all, that's that's what they say, that this peace, to that is this feeling of peace. So when you say joy, that's not, you could say joy, but it's not the joy of pleasure or the joy of suffering. It transcends both of those. So it's that what we say in Sanskrit, Ananda Swarupam, Ananda Swarup. Your own nature is actually Satchidananda. Your own nature is actually this Ananda or this bliss. So that's what comes from that. So in that state you just described, there's no subject-object relationship. There just is. So that sense of Rajiv, that I-ness is gone. So then you could raise the question, then who's going to experience that state of joy? Right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah,
It-
yeah.
Yeah. So, but there is a state in yoga that when the mind becomes purified, and what we mean by purification is more desire, less desires. Again, what is the can anyone say? Let's see. Okay, let me ask you, Rajiv. What is the source of our misery in this world? What does it say the source is? Just in one
Um,
sentence.
if something is not going as per our
No.
expectation or desire.
No, that's okay, but I'm talking about anyone else want to participate?
Desire or fear will
Okay.
unsettle yourself.
Okay. Eves, what do you think? What do you think is the cause of our misery in this material universe?
Attachments.
Yes. Attachment to what?
Everything.
Worldly things.
Attachment to the worldly stuff.
Attachment to everything.
Attachment to anything. Anything is actually a material thing. This is what the Yoga Sutras is saying again and again. It's an outer object. Another person, the world, even our own mind-body complex, up to our ego. That's the cause of our misery. Why? Because this is all anityam, anityam, anityam. Anityam means what?
Not
Not real.
Not real, not eternal. And if something's changing, so one moment it's there, the next moment it changes. So one moment, I'm feeling good, then I get a phone call from somewhere, and then you're feeling bad, right? So this is the whole thing. So that's why the only way is that's our goal, to slowly cut the desires and find that, not to say that we don't live in the world, we don't love others, but that love becomes even much more powerful and much more meaningful when we cut it of its selfishness. And the only way to do that is to first, that's identification, or to try to find that refuge in our own Atman Purusha. So let me then read the next one. Vijnana Bhikshu compares vrittis to flames. He's another commentator, to flames of a fire or waves of the sea. In other words, if the chitta is the sea, the vrittis are its waves. So the chitta is you can say that that's like the mind stuff. That's the things that the vritti, that includes the vrittis, but the vrittis does not include the chittas. So the chitta is like the entire, you can call it the lake of the mind. This one great mind that we've been carrying from birth to birth, death to death. That whole thing is called the chitta. And within that, a wave arrives. That wave might be like a particular thought, a particular tendency. Does that make sense?
Swamiji,
Yeah.
what is chitta called without vrittis in it? There are no vrittis, so what is it called then? What is chitta called?
Well, that's a great question, Shaileshji. And the answer is that chitta always has vrittis, but sometimes when it's static. Purusha and Prakriti. So when the ocean is static, does that mean that the waves do not exist? Or they're called in a state called prasupta, dormant. So at that time they're dormant, but they're there, but they're dormant. You know, the example of that is as a young, who here has a young kid or a young grandchild? Okay, Lakshmiji. Okay. So, like the kid, it might seem like an angel when you look at it from the outside, right? It looks like that. It looks like a Paramahansa. Yet at the same time, what are those tendencies? And we don't know. Why? Because it has not manifested yet.
Yes.
We could have another Ramakrishna, or we can have an Adolf Hitler. God knows.
God forbid.
God forbid, right? So we just don't know. So that's the same thing with this too. So that's chitta and vrittis. Okay, let's go to the next. In 1.2, Patanjali defined yoga as the complete cessation of all vrittis. So that is this yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So that's how yoga is defined. Ultimately, I think Rajiv said that we want all vrittis to stop. That's the end goal. But we don't say that. Our goal is actually just to get more, right now, more peace of mind. That's our goal. And the way that we can practically try to apply that is to take our desires and just to be aware of them. That's what we're trying to do right now, objectify our desires. So in 1.2, Patanjali defined yoga as the complete, okay, here he describes the consequent question. What are these vrittis that must be eliminated? So there's 5 categories. Panchataya of vrittis. Patanjali indicates that these can be either klishta, which means, what does klishta, aklishta means what again?
Klishta means it's the good thing.
Not painful.
Not painful.
Good one.
It's a good
Not painful. And why is that? Because klishta comes from the root, Sanskrit root klesha. Klesha means pain bodies. So anytime we feel anything like painful, anything like that, that's what this pain body, that's what that means. Okay. And conducive, at least initially, to the ultimate goal of yoga, or klishta, detrimental. So let's see. Daryl, why don't you read the next one then, since you're back from driving? You can read this one. The Vyasa states right here.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Vyasa states that the detrimental vrittis are caused by the 5 kleshas, the impediments to the practice of yoga: ignorance, ego, attachment, aversion, and clinging to life. That will be discussed in 11.3. The term
2.3, yeah.
Okay, 2.3, excuse me.
Yeah.
The term for detrimental, klishta, comes from the same root as klesha, klish, to trouble or torment. These
Right.
types of mental states are detrimental to the goals of yoga because they are the fertile soil from which the seeds of karma sprout. The klishta vrittis culminate in bondage. They are essentially the products of rajas and tamas. Aklishta vrittis are sattvic and have the opposite effect. They are born of insight and culminate in liberation.
Let's stop right there. Let's stop. So who has some comment? Does anyone have any comment about that? Daryl, what do you think about that? Sometimes, so klishta vrittis are these pain bodies. So they say that they're products of rajas, which is activity, and tamas, which is darkness. And aklishta vrittis are the sattvic and have the opposite effect. So they are born of insight and culminate in liberation.
Yes, I think that, I guess upon digesting that, it is logical to think that these insightful thoughts cause one to realize, I guess, the difference between right and wrong, or give you a deeper sense of vivek or discrimination, which
Yes.
ultimately leads towards a lessening of one's own ignorance.
Yes.
So that makes sense to me. I'm still thinking about it, but those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with you. I agree with you. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Or anything?
Swami,
Yeah.
Swami,
Yes.
this is Swayam.
Oh, hi, Swami. Okay.
So I just have a question.
Sure.
In the detrimental vrittis, attachment and aversion are both included. However, the attachment part, of course, is to the worldly things. But then when you go to the other one, which is the aklishta vrittis,
Right.
you still need to have attachment to the non-worldly thing. So attachment kind of becomes part of both.
Yes, that's so in the Bhagavatam and even Ramakrishna, I just read he was saying this in the Kathamrita the other day, that this this desire, this bashana, Bhagavan laber bashana noy. So the desire for God realization, the love of God, is not attachment. So these aklishta vrittis, they don't produce additional karma. any reaction with klishta vrittis produces additional karma, and it binds us it binds us to the world even further. But these aklishta vrittis, they don't produce additional karma, and they don't bind us to the world. And actually, you can say that, Swamiji, that our goal is actually that, to cultivate those aklishta vrittis, because they take us more towards God.
Thank you.
Swamiji, one word comes to my mind. There is this like they divide things between like vidya and avidya. So maybe there is vidya attachment and avidya attachment, something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely true. In fact, that is they even I was reading the Mundaka Upanishad yesterday. This vidya, no, apara vidya and para vidya, and interestingly they say in this in the Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, that apara vidya, or the vidya that would lead to ignorance, knowledge of ignorance, even includes the Upanishads. And then they said para vidya, the supreme knowledge, that higher knowledge is realization. So anything in this material world is an obstacle. But at the same time, these things which make us go, which give us, as Daryl read, or as Shivadas read, which give us inspiration towards God, they're the things that don't bind us to this world. And that's why whatever we do, we always try to cultivate practices every day that can help increase our attachment towards God or the Atman or whatever it may be. Chanting, meditating, singing, reading holy text, things like that.
But a very interesting observation. But sometimes, like, I think if the mind becomes too focused on these things, then when we go outside, like with normal people, it's kind of hard to engage in other topics. And, it almost seems like your mind is kind of fixated on some of these things. So I don't know how other people address that.
Yeah, well, that might happen once in a blue moon, but usually that's not the case. Usually it's the opposite way, where our mind is so tormented with so many worldly thoughts that it's difficult to engage with others. So it can go both sides. So maybe on that day we're having a particularly, good day, but that's not always the case. But that can happen probably. Lakshmiji, go ahead.
Swamiji, I just want to share this in one of Swami Sarvapriyananda's speeches. Like somebody asked the same question. Like this person says that it's people around me, like, because I don't want to go to parties and I want to listen to Vedanta and stuff like that, people think that I'm so boring. I'm no longer fun. And then Swami Sarvapriyananda responded that apparently Swami Ashokananda had told this, good riddance of bad people. And so if that is the case, then he says, so be it. Don't associate with all those people. Just associate yourself with good people who have similar tendencies. So what Rajiv said was, if there are people around us who are criticizing us because we are into Vedanta, that we are not worldly enough, I think the best thing would be for us not to engage with those people, but then stay away from and be around people like right now who are in the audience.
Yeah, I think that we have to, that Lakshmiji, that's such a beautiful answer, and absolutely right. And that's why we have a Vedanta Society in Atlanta. That's why we have a Sangha for that. So that group dynamic helps us to even go more towards that. So you're absolutely right. That's really right. Yes. Yeah. Let's just finish this then. In its attempt to attain that which attracts it and avoid that which repels it, the mind provokes action karma, which initiates a vicious reactive cycle. So this is the really thing. This is like that cycle of cause and effect. It's like an endless cycle of cause and effect. So that's why you have to be very, very careful not to intentionally disturb our minds or listen to things which will disturb our minds. Especially when our minds, it goes through different aspects of the day, but there's some points in the day where our minds can be very impressionable and more vulnerable. How many here have felt that sometimes in the day we're more vulnerable at that time? Other times of the day we're a little bit more stronger. When we're vulnerable, we have to be more careful at that time. That especially comes at nighttime, if we wake up early, we're getting tired. We have to be very, very careful then. Be very careful about these things. So karma from the root kri, to do or make, literally mean work. But inherent in the Indic concept of work or any type of activity is the notion that every action breeds a reaction. So this is really interesting. Every action breeds a reaction. Thus, karma refers not only to an initial act, whether benevolent or malicious, but also to the reaction it produces, pleasant or unpleasant, in accordance with the original act, which ripens for the actor either in this life or a future one. Hence, we see that people are born into different socio-economic situations, and pleasant or unpleasant things happen to them throughout life in accordance with their own previous actions. So this is the final thing that we're going to wrap up with, is this concept of that any reaction, we have to be careful, any reaction, it's always better not to react than to react. Every reaction we do always leads to some further karma. So that's why we emphasize again and again, let's not react, but what's the opposite of reaction? Respond. Respond. Not to react, but if we have to respond, or withdraw, or just not do anything at all, and let it hang for some time. I think most of the regrets we have in life is because we reacted. This is really interesting. I think we'll just go a little bit. This cycle of action and reaction, or samsara, is potentially eternal and unlimited, since not only does any one single act breed a reaction, but the actor must then react to this reaction, causing a re-reaction, which in terms fructifies and provokes re-reactions, and so on ad infinitum. How many of you saw that movie, the Oppenheimer? What is it, on Oppenheimer? What was that called? The how the atomic bomb was created. Shivadas, did you work
Yes,
on
Oppenheimer, Swami. Yes.
you didn't work on that movie, did you?
No, no.
Just checking. But you know that concept of how the nuclear bomb, they talk about this eternal, how you split the atom. It's one chain reaction after another. The chain reaction keeps taking place. So that's really interesting how chain reactions, how many of us feel that sometimes momentum comes from these chain reactions, especially something bad. It's easy to descend into a negative state because of something. It causes it's not just one reaction that causes another reaction, which causes another reaction. And then what happens during the day, wherever we go, we're reacting. Our minds are feeling really raw. What do we do then? Next time this happens to all of us. Next time this happens, Holy Mother says this, on those days, don't speak too much, because whatever you speak, you may regret later on. On those days, try to minimize talking. Try to minimize movement. If you have to just focus on your work, don't talk to many. Wait for that reaction to come down. As we're going to study, these vrittis are cyclical. In other words, they don't go and stay there. They come down and they go up again. Sometimes we're led into a false sense of security. We waited, the mind came down, and we think we're safe. No, on that day, it can easily start to come up again because it's very sensitive. So one thing is, I would say we don't have to do anything but recognize when we're in these different states. That's enough. So I keep talking about journaling. So if we can just make the habit, why we can just do that this week? Why don't we all just try it? Journaling. Next time we can journal our moods through the day. When we're aware of something, why not just write it down? I'm feeling like this right now. My mood is like this right now. That single act of even just writing that down, what are you doing then? You're objectifying. When you objectify your mood, what are you saying? This is what Vedanta says in Drigdrisha Viveka. If you can objectify it, you are not that. So if I can say, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, I can objectify it. I'm not that then. I'm that witness self which is watching these fluctuations of the mind. Sadness, happiness, anger, love. But I'm not that. I'm watching those things.
Very well said, Swamiji.
I think with that we can take questions or any further discussions. I think for today, I think that's we've. I don't like to say there's so many ideas. We can now just open it.
Swamiji,
Yes.
Swami, I just had a comment and possibly a question.
Sure.
Yes, it's very uplifting to be in the Sangha and people with, same path or goal of taking a spiritual path. But sometimes there are people in the so-called out of the spiritual circle who don't necessarily label themselves as spiritual, but we can feel many positive things from the so-called, for lack of another word, worldly people. Many of them are loving, they have a sense of humor, they bring vibrancy to life. um, so they may not call themselves spiritual, they may not even be attending some particular uh, talk or coming to a center, but there are people that I meet in the outside the circle who do bring some positivity to my mental state. So that's just a comment. For example, this person I learned keyboard from, he's got such a great sense of humor. When I have the class, along with that, he tells me jokes, and the whole thing just uplifts. That 1 hour of interaction is very uplifting.
Right.
And there are other people in my circle who bring that the feeling of joy out. The question I had was, is it really possible to reach the pinnacle of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the final step of samadhi, by being in the world? Or does one have to really get out of the world if you want to follow just this path?
Right. So the answer to that is that the highest stage, no one says about if that's really depends on what our goal is. Is our goal is to enjoy the world, then why do we really want that? Some people don't want that right now. So we have to also be honest, where are we right now in the spiritual path? That's the ultimate goal. But where are we? Are we at that state of desirelessness? If someone's really at that stage, like this Ramana Maharishi, there's in the Gita, Atmani eva atma. So they find joy in the self by the self. And at the same time, that joy permeates to others. Buddha, after attaining nirvana at Bodh Gaya, they said he took 7 steps and he felt such joy that he just wanted to continue his meditation. But then what happened? Along with that joy, what Swami Vivekananda said, the expansion of the heart. So then he felt, no, he can feel the misery of others, and to alleviate that misery and give that bliss of Ananda, he went to Sharanath and started preaching the message. So we're all like those representatives too. And what you said is true. Wherever we are, we should just not, this is just a spirit. You could say this is more like a community for charging our batteries. When we come here, we come to charge our batteries. Then we have to go out in the world again. We can't be in the ashram, the monastery, 24 hours a day. So this is like that place where we come, we sit in the shrine, we come to charge ourselves. Like the mobile, you have to charge it every day. So we say, go to the ashram, sit in the Thakur shrine, nothing else, just to charge ourselves. That vibration, that tanmatra is there. We get that charge, then we have to go back into the world. We have to face so many different elements. So that's the thing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Swamiji,
Yes, yes.
You mentioned about desirelessness and you said to observe the desires.
Yeah.
Is there a known technique which you use or you would suggest to use that to observe the desires, to dissolve them or to reduce?
Yeah, I think that one thing, Shailesh ji, is that one monk told me this. It's sometimes difficult to, in the Upanishads, they say that how do you get rid of a desire, or how do you cultivate a desire? That they say that the mind should be sensitive, like like an eyelid, like the retina of the eye. When like something like a spider web falls on the retina on the eye itself, it causes a reaction. Same thing if there's something that we want to eliminate or some add, we should become sensitive. When we don't live up to that, we feel sensitive, if that makes sense. So say that I want to maybe lie less, not speak the truth more. So if I tell a lie, my mind will become more repentful at that time. So the way they do it is they say you can take a notebook. In Buddhism, they give the analogy of a Buddhist monk sitting, and he said whenever a bad thought comes to his mind, he'll put like a black marble in this jar. So every time he's putting a black marble in the jar, what's he doing? What's he practicing? He's objectifying the thoughts of his mind, right? He's practicing awareness. So the first day when he did it, it was, there were black balls, and almost every single moment he was kept, there were not enough balls, the black marbles to put in the jars. But he kept practicing this. The next day it was a lot. After 30 days, it became a little bit less. After 6 months, it became even less. And after 1 year, hardly any bad thoughts at all, desires at all. So like that, we have to keep that that vigilance. Not with everything. You can really only choose like one thing, and we can try it for some time. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you.
And it's not, be careful, like the desire you want to eliminate, it's not something that should have to be very big. It could just be something that, rather than eliminate, Yoga Sutra says, like they say that rather than take that desire, put it more towards God. If you be angry, it's called pratipaksha bhavanam. Direct that anger towards God. Why have I not realized you? Not even that. If you, I know some people like to blame God. Why did this happen? But if you offer everything to him or her, then when things don't work out, if you have to complain, rather than complain to other people, let's complain to that Arishta Devata.
Thank you.
In a month or so, Durga Puja will be coming. So October 10th to the 13th. So we should get ourselves ready now. There'll be something called the chanting of the Mother Durga's name. So you can, Shailesh, I'll request that you contact Swami Sarvadevanandaji. They have a list there. They say that anyone who's repeating any kind of mantra, at that time they can commit to doing a little bit extra. And they say that the idea is that if by a group you do 100, you repeat 100,000 extra mantra, that's the punya, that's the good karma of conducting one Durga Puja. So that's what I would suggest that everyone, it's a very auspicious time. So we should start to get our minds ready for that. We should think that that living Durga is now soon going to start from Mount Kailash and come to us and enter into our homes and our hearts.
Yes, Maharaj.
So because Sarvadevananda every year he sends it to
Yeah.
chant Jai Sri Durga.
Right. So that's a good opportunity. So
But you are suggesting do it in a group?
no, I'm saying sign up for that. Sign up
Yes.
for that. Sign up for that.
Yes.
And you guys can do that sometimes on a Sunday. That's a nice thing too. If there's not a lecture, you can have like, just even playing Om. and like a little bit of, and I can even lead sometimes a group meditation if you want. We can do like that as well. And those are something nice, just to sit there and meditate together. That's also very powerful. Sometimes having a group meditation in the shrine. We can do that sometimes, a guided meditation in the shrine. Everyone gets together, we meditate together.
Yes, that is good.
Yeah. How are you, Eves, how are you keeping? How's everything going? Where are you now?
Everything's going well. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina right now.
Oh,
House
wow.
sitting,
Okay.
taking care of 2 cats.
Oh, what is it about cats? We have Brahma Das with that cat, and I see Violet. I see your cat is also going back and forth back there. So yeah, well, Holy Mother. I think Holy Mother cats liked Holy Mother, by the way. So so there's something really, I think I'm a dog person, but when I was in Atlanta, that cat Davy Paw, she won me over too. She's a special cat. So yeah.
Amiji, I take care of 6 cats.
Wow, okay. Okay. You have 6 cats, or you take care of 6 cats?
Well, we have 1 cat and 5 cats live outside, but
I see.
right at the doorstep. So I put them food and shelter and warm water or whatever. But they are right there.
Okay, so that's okay, but so that's even one spiritual practice. If we think that God has come in the form of this cat, Ramakrishna, he was one day walking from the Panchavati back to his room, and a stray dog, just appeared right behind him. He turned towards that dog. Sometimes in India, especially, we shoo those dogs away. But what did he do? He just looked at the dog. Ma, ek kukur থেকে কিছু বলতে চাও? So does the Divine Mother want to say something through this dog? He had the receptivity that the universe is his teacher. And from where the Divine Mother can spring, we don't know. So like that, I think it was Golap Ma or Gopalar Ma, Golap Ma or Jogin Ma, they had an attachment towards one cat. Their husband had passed away, they had no children. So they asked that, what do? I now have this attachment towards this cat. So Ramakrishna told them, think of that Swami, think of that the God, Narayan has entered into that cat. Serve that cat like that. You're not just serving a cat, you're serving that divine being within the cat. Because this Atman is in all creatures.
But this is the same thing you were saying yesterday also. Some of these dogs and all those things, they
Yes.
get attracted to a sadhus because they have some kind of a, previous janmas
Yes.
things in them.
Yes, in fact, I was mentioning yesterday in the talk on pilgrimages that when I was in Kashi, every day I would see at the time that Arati begins, this dog would just enter and just sit inside it's an outdoor shrine. It's outdoors, it's inside outdoor. It would just sit inside there with everybody else. And after the Arati ended, the dog would leave. So you see this in many instances of this. So they said that in those dogs and cats that are born in these holy places, they look very dirty, they look very ferocious, but no, there's something special about them. They're connected to that atmosphere of sattva and spirituality. So sometimes Ramakrishna used to say they might have been a human in a previous birth and maybe they got cursed, like a yogi like that. But they had that some love for God.
Yeah, this is the same thing with Ramana Maharshi, with the Lakshmi, the cow.
Oh, okay. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Well, this is you come to Ramana Maharshi, wherever he goes there and all those things, he was just used to follow thing. That is what Ramana Maharshi said. She is going to be, realized.
Okay,
That
right.
cow, Lakshmi.
Yes, yeah.
Swamiji, there is a story.
Akilandeshwari Koil, in Trichy.
Uh-huh.
There is a temple in Trichy called as Akilandeshwari, and there the idea is that an elephant comes and worships the Shiva Linga.
Okay, wow.
And that is the legend there that the elephant used to come. And
Yes.
so that is a big thing there, So
Yes.
elephant is kept as a temple, and it, in the worship, they let the elephant go into the sanctorium to
Right.
worship the god.
Yeah. Yeah. So these
Swamiji, there is also another story of a dog going, and now that we are talking about God, doing an 40-day observance of the Shabarimala. There is it's in Kerala, Shabarimala. So
why don't you just explain that so we know what that is?
there is a mountain, and the top of the mountain is Lord Ayyappa, who was actually, he came from the Mohini avatar from so Lord Ayyappa is on the top of it, and then people observe for 40 days, like they're very strict observance. They wear black clothes, and then it's just men who do the pilgrimage, and they can't eat meat. They no alcohol, very, very strict, and they can, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they can only eat one time a day, and they travel by foot to wherever they go up to after a certain point. And there was a dog that observed, and actually this dog kept vigilance with this group and went all the way to Shabarimala. Other people even stopped and had like water to drink, and the dog refused to do any of that. And once they reached the Shabarimala, they offered the puja and all of that, and the dog watched, and everybody else returned, and they were thinking that the dog would follow them. And the dog refused to leave that area, and it just stayed on in Shabarimala.
Wow.
So people actually thought that he must have been a yogi. It's actually documented that he must have been a yogi who was reborn as a dog, and that now he's gone back to his home.
Right. Yeah. No,
There's a very, Swami, very interesting incident happened. My cat, when Swami Yogatmanandaji came to my home, there were 10 people around. He suddenly came running and rubbed his head on his feet, only on his feet,
Nice.
really vigorously, and he ran away. And he has never done that to anyone. He
Yeah.
never does that to me also.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, you can figure out whatever, but it was only with Swami Yogatmananda he did that. There have been other Swamis also who have come to my home, but for Swami Yogatmananda, he did that.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, I never want to come to your home. I don't want to be compared to that. What if the cat doesn't come to me? But you're right. These things are there. So what we're doing right now, if we do that, so this is what we're, so these things are possible. So what we're talking about here is that attraction for the sattva, liking for the sattva. So as we keep doing these things and cultivating that liking for spiritual things, higher talking, sometimes people say, Swamiji, should I be a brahmachari or whatever? No, what Ramakrishna was married to. So even if you have a partner, wife, husband, whatever it may be, sharing that, that's a good idea too, to share. If it's, in fact, you're very blessed if both husband and wife or partners have the same ideal, or they start to have the same inclination. That's a very blessed thing. You can share these ideas together. And if you're not married, or if you're single now, that's also, you're equally blessed. You can come to the ashram and share the community there, where you live near the ashram. So I think that these things are really nice. These things are really, the idea of community, especially because we're so busy, so meditation, but the idea of strengthening our communities within the home and then also at the ashram, they're very good things to try.
Swamiji, somebody, I think Swayamji mentioned that there's other people who are not explicitly spiritual, but they are kind of spiritual in a sense. I since past couple of months, I'm studying some aspects of psychology a little bit, and cognitive behavior therapy and all of that. And I feel like that is actually very much like Raj Yoga, and what we some of these things that we learn from Yoga Sutra. I think they just without mention of God or anything specifically religious, that is also one form of spirituality, like cognitive behavior therapy and all of that.
Yeah, and when no one's saying that only good people are at the ashram, and no, there's many. So it's like even, uh, of course, that goes without saying. When I was in Harvard, so many wonderful people I met there. So all I was talking about is a place to charge our batteries. Most of the time we're outside. So there we have to go outside. There'll be spiritual people. But for us in the ashram or in our practice, we charge our spiritual batteries and then we go back out into the world. And we'll meet good people, wonderful people, bad people too. The world's just a composite, right? There's good, bad, everything is there. So people that are spiritual, people that are not spiritual. So I think that that also is nice to have when we meet such people. And the purpose, though, of again of our mantra, our practice, our community, the ashram, that's to charge our spiritual batteries. Charge it with what? Sattva, the spirituality. And then we go into the world, which is, you can say there's some sattva there, but it's really raging in rajas and tamas mostly, everywhere. So what you can say is that when we come to the ashram, it's a much greater percentage of sattva.
Swamiji, I often wonder, like there should be like a clistometer and a clistometer, like thermometer.
Yeah.
Take the thermometer around people and it measures, and then you can avoid.
Right. That'd be nice. Yeah. So we're gonna close today. It's very nice seeing everybody, and it was very nice seeing you after a long time. Glad that you're doing well. Yeah. So I'll close with a chant, and then we'll see you next week again. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam Astu. And just if any of you are enrolled in my pilgrimage class, that'll be next Tuesday, and we'll be going through Dakshineshwar.
Swamiji, it was wonderful yesterday, last night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was really, really good.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you guys joined, and yeah, it was nice. Yeah. It's nice. Only I wish there was a little bit of a live audience there. That's the only. It's different, so I have to get used to that again. That's the only thing. But it's yeah. So next week we'll be doing the gospel and the Dakshineshwar, and try to do the readings if you can that are in the assignment blog. Okay.
You did this from Los Angeles or San Diego?
Oh, I alternate. I'm kind of like in a voice without a, they say voice without a form, so a voice without a place sometimes, So yesterday it was Los Angeles, but next week it might be San Diego, so we never know.
Oh,
Okay.
so that means you can even come to Atlanta and do it.
Sure, absolutely. So let's see. Everything's on the table there. So let's absolutely. So let's see. And still, actually, because of this course, that's the only reason why I think that it's because so many people have signed up. I think 300 people signed up. I don't know how many people. So I just want to first get it going, kind of everything going well. So we'll see. It's all in the mother's hands. So we'll see what mother does. Okay. So Jai Ma, everybody. Jai Ma.
Thank you.
Jai Ma. Thank you, Jai Ma. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Well, everyone stay low. Jai Ma. Jai Ma.